It was the night before the election, the US election, and everyone was freaking out. Michael Snyder reports, I've never seen so much doubt, worry, anxiety, fear, and panic as we approach a presidential election. And over the country, people are freaking out right now. Democrats are freaking out because the early voting numbers are so dramatically different from 2020. Republicans are freaking out because some of the latest polls show Kamala Harris leading in several of the most important swing states. And just about everyone is feeling uneasy because we simply do not know what is going to happen on Tuesday night. Today, that is. Will it be a super tight race that drags on longer after Election Day? Will Trump win in a landslide? Will all the Democrats that did not show up during the early voting period magically show up on November 5th? There are so many unanswered questions, and that's making lots of people extremely nervous. This is an election in which every vote could potentially matter, and some Republican members of Congress are sounding the alarm about problems that active duty service members are having in getting their votes in on time. Republican lawmakers demand answers from the Pentagon after military service members complained that they have not received enough absentee ballots to vote before Election Day. GOP Representatives Brian Mast, Republican from Florida, Bill Huizenga, Republican Missouri, and Mike Waltz, Republican Florida, sent a letter to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin citing their grave concerns over deficiencies in the Defense Department's protocols for the U.S. military because they have the absentee ballot stockpile has been depleted and had not been replenished. Our nation's brave men and women in uniform brought to our attention that there has been inadequate education at the administrative level on how to register to vote, request an absentee ballot, and fill in a federal write-in absentee ballot if their state-issued ballot does not arrive in time, the letter reads. Other service members also stated that when a request for a federal write-in absentee ballot was made, they were told the base's stockpile of such ballots was depleted and had not been replenished. Was the lack of support for military voting just an oversight, or is something else going on here? We really need an answer to that question. Another twist that's getting a lot of attention is the fact that we are being told that getting voting results from Pennsylvania and Wisconsin could take longer than in other states. The Keystone and Badger states each prohibited election officials from beginning to open and count absentee ballots until 7 a.m. Election Day, when they must also deal with in-person voting. The Pennsylvania State Secretary's office describes it this way on its website. Hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of mail ballots are cast in every election, and current state law does not permit counties to begin opening these ballots until 7 a.m. on Election Day. That means county election officials cannot even remove the ballots from the envelopes and prepare them to be scanned until that time, on a day when those same officials are also running more than 9,000 polling places across the state. Those two states could potentially decide the election. Hopefully they will count quickly. Personally, I think that it would be a good thing for the nation if we had a clear winner on Tuesday night, but who would that clear winner be? Many Republicans believe that Donald Trump will win easily, but based on the latest polls, many Democrats are entirely convinced that Kamala Harris will emerge victorious. For example, Harris has a 4-point lead in the final PBS News NPR Marist poll. On the eve of 2024 presidential election, Vice President Kamala Harris holds a 4-point lead over former President Donald Trump among likely voters nationally, according to the latest PBS News NPR Marist poll. Harris has the support of 51% of likely voters to Trump's 47%, a lead just outside the poll's 3.5-point margin of error. But that exact same poll has Donald Trump winning independents by 5 points. A little more than half of independents support the Republican nominee, a 5-point lead over Harris. Both of those things cannot be true. If Donald Trump wins independents by 5 points, he's going to win the election. Ultimately, it appears that a lot of these polls are deeply flawed, but that is not stopping some top Democrats from making very brash predictions. On Sunday, Michael Moore boldly declared that Trump is going to lose. As you know, I have been loath to predict how I really feel the election is going to turn out on Tuesday, but I'm guessing by now you've picked up a basic sense from me that contrary to the breathless punditry of how dangerously close the election is, it's a tie, it's a 50-50 country, it's a neck and neck, it's kneecap to kneecap, Trump's going to win. I have felt that for a long time, that it not only is Trump going to lose, because yes, I have a lot of faith in the goodness of my fellow Americans, but Kamala Harris is going to win and win big, with cross-sized numbers that even Trump will be blown away by, meaning that this is the last that we will see him unless Dr. Phil does a live special from Epstein Island a few years from now. Will he be proven correct? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, Rasmussen's head pollster is saying that we could potentially witness a Trump landslide. Former President Donald Trump is poised to secure a significant electoral victory, potentially sweeping battleground states, according to Rasmussen's head pollster, who sees the current rare race favoring Trump in the national popular vote, suggesting a larger political realignment is underway and foresees an outcome that could echo or even exceed Ronald Reagan's historic landslide win over Jimmy Carter in 1980. It's a striking forecast days before the 2024 presidential election. Rasmussen's head pollster, Mark Mitchell, is suggesting that Donald Trump will secure a strong lead nationally and dominate in key battleground states, positioning him for a sweeping victory. Mitchell even foresees a potential flip of Virginia and New Hampshire, adding that other states like Minnesota or New Mexico might follow suit. It would take an enormous Republican turnout on election day to produce such a landslide, but without a doubt, the numbers during the early voting period look really good for Trump. After looking over the early voting numbers, Sean Hannity came to the conclusion that Kamala Harris has a math problem. Hannity said, look, let's start out with where we are with early voting. Going into tomorrow, we've got to keep this in mind. Everyone at home, please keep this in mind. We have 80 to 90 million more Americans that will vote tomorrow. That's a lot of votes that have to get yet to be cast. Going in, Kamala Harris has a math problem, and that is that they way underperformed, especially in the swing states, in terms of what their target numbers needed to be to go in with the lead that they wanted, and they just didn't get there. They're way off. They're off by double digits based on all the numbers. I've been studying and seeing, and we will go over, and we all go over. So what she now has to do is something the Democratic Party has never really pulled off before. That's her challenge, and that is to get people to the polls day out. Do I think that Ricky Martin, Lady Gaga, and J-Lo, Willie Nelson are going to pull it over the top? I really don't think so. I think the days of Hollywood celebrities, influencing people are long gone, he said. I believe Hannity's right. If millions of Democrats that did not show up during the early voting do not show up on election day, Kamala Harris is going to lose. And if Kamala Harris loses this election, it will unleash a flood of negative emotion like we have never seen before. Right now, important buildings all over Washington, D.C. are being boarded up in anticipation of what might happen. Businesses in Washington, D.C. were on Monday boarding up their windows as security fencing went up around the White House, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris' residence, and other key buildings in the Capitol. Fights have broken out at polling stations, and election workers have prepared for gun attacks amid a fury of threats to blow up political offices and other sensitive sites ahead of Election Day. And in the state of Washington, the National Guard is actually being activated. Washington Governor Jay Inslee is activating the Washington National Guard ahead of Election Day, according to Kings 5, and neighboring state Oregon is not far behind. The action by the governor follows two recent ballot box arsons in Portland and Vancouver, Washington, in late October, which destroyed hundreds of ballots. Officials are still seeking a suspect. Governor Inslee announced that some National Guard members will assist local law enforcement and the state patrol, with the exact number yet to be decided. Once a winner is known, I believe there will be widespread chaos, but it won't just be temporary. I am entirely convinced that we're entering a period of long-term chaos for the entire nation. We're a nation that's bitterly divided, and I don't think that anyone will be able to bring us back together. The election may be ending, but an alarming new chapter in our history is just beginning, and nothing will ever be the same again. This is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book, Why, is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophets of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News, and he always freely, happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.